Welcome to the third part of the series. It's lovely to have you all here today. Let's continue. And if you remember well, or if you were able to stay to the ending of the last part, we had a little bug concerning the forms. And what I was able to figure out was that there was something up with that particular version of Svelte 5 or BTY. I'm not sure. All I had to do was literally create a new SvelteKit application, move all of the folders and all the files and the component to this new one, and it just works. It runs. BTY doesn't give that error that BTY was giving. So we can just move on and continue. If you're not having that issue, you can just forget about it. But if you were, you can do what I did, which was just to create a new SvelteKit application with Svelte 5 preview, and then just move all of your files and your folders and install all the necessary dependencies for that application to run as it was previously without the bug. So we can uncomment this, save this, and see the way this looks like on the browser. Now you see we have this form field right here. That's for the name. So I want a couple more, so I can just duplicate this. Because in our add form schema, we have a price and cents, we have a description of file and an image. Those are the fields that we want. So I'll copy this and I'll paste this down here. And this time I'll replace all the places I have name with price and cents. And this should also give me some auto completion. That's the nice thing about it. Price and cents for the labels and for the name here as well. I'll just type in price and cents, and I should also get auto completion here as well. I'll save that, and I should see another one that tells me the price and cents, and this will be a number field. So we only want to allow numbers in here. As you can see right now, we can actually type in text. So I'll go to the inputs and I'll change the type to that of a number. And just below the fields here, I want to show the price in actual dollars, because right now it's going to be in cents. So if I say 500, this is not actually $500, this is 500 cents. So I want to convert this to dollars. So how I'll do that is I'll come down here and have a div, and give this div a class text muted foreground, and in the div I want to use my format currency, so I will import format currency from our utils, and yeah, I can use the form data store, and I can get price and cents from here. So it will be real time because it's a store and it's been subscribed to, and divide this by 100. So when I save this, now whatever input we put in this field, it would be shown here, but in the dollar form. So if I said 10 cents, this would be $0.1, and I can go to 100 cents, which is $1, and 1,000, which is 10. So let's save that and we can move on. Now we'll just copy this again, and I'll paste this under here. Let me just give you more real estate to the editor, because I feel like that's more important. And this field will be for the description, and we'll change the label to description. Yeah, as well, we can just select description. And I also want to change the input. So instead of using a regular input, we use a text area. That's not how we're going to spell it. So the text area that we are going to use is going to be from chassis and Svelte. So we can just install it first. I'll go to add new component, and I'll choose the text area. And as that installs, okay, it's actually going to prompt us and ask some questions. So we can leave the terminal open and wait for the prompt. Ready to install components and dependencies, yes. And it has installed the text area. And come above here, CNI text area. And this is not giving us the regular snippets. So we could just save this in more time. Let's just write that by hand. Alright, popped up. Text area. And yeah, I can do CNX text area. And I'll just get all of these, copy this and pop it in the text area. But I'll get rid of the type number because we don't want this for the text area. And I can also get rid of the inputs. Yeah. Let's save this and see how this reflects. Alright, now we have a name, a price and cents, and a description. Let's make the description a capital letter D, so it actually looks better. And you can copy the field one more time. This time it's going to be for the file. And the way SvelteKit Super-Forms undo file is actually a breeze, and I'll teach you guys how that works today. So first thing we're going to do is to change this to a file, because that's the name of the field. Then we'll also change the label to file. And the input, all we have to do here is just add the type is equals to file. And we also want to change this from a text area to a regular HTML input. Now you can use the one from Chassis and Svelte, but I just prefer to use the one from the normal input components from HTML. And I can save this. Now let's take care of the image as well, because they are very similar, so we can handle both of them at once. So I'll copy and paste this down, and I'll save places without file. I'll just change this to image, and also remember to get the form data parts from description to file, because I already forgot that. So change this to just leave this as it is, because we won't actually use the form data part. Just leave this as it is. We'll come to that later on. And yeah, so what you want to do now is to change this from bind value to bind file. And these files that we use in Svelte, so bind files, and leave this empty for now. It's actually going to cause an error, so it'd be better if you don't save it, but change this to bind files. And you scroll to the top to your script tag, and in here I'll go const image. Now this one is going to under the image will be file proxy, and file proxy is going to be from SvelteKit Super-Forms. And in here we'll put in form data, and form data is this store, but we don't subscribe to it, just post form data, and then you put in the name of the field that we want to undo, and it's going to be image. And I can just duplicate this, and this time I'll change this to file, but the other one I want to undo is the file. Now I can go back to where I have the bind values. The one for the file, I can just put in here file, but file is going to be a store, so I'm going to have to subscribe to it. So put my $sign in front of it, file. And for the image as well, the same thing. I'll say $sign and then image. And one other thing that I want to do is to restrict the user's ability to select different types of files. I just want them to be able to select images. So what I can do here is in this input field, I can add an attribute except and go with image / asterisk. So every image file, no matter if it's PNG or JPEG or whatever, would be able to select it. Even though we've done the validation right here, so you can see it's basically the same thing we did right here, but it's also very nice to do it on the client as well to give them a better experience. And as you can see, we have those red lines here, and it's because of this input is of type image. It should be of type file. And I'll save this. And once I save that, we should see, yeah, we should have two buttons here showing, this one saying choose file and this one saying choose file. This one's going to be for the file and this is going to be for the image. And lastly, we can come to the button and we can change this So I will give this button a type of submit, and I can have an if block here. I'll type in if delayed, and remember you're always going to have to subscribe to delayed because delay is a store. And if delayed is true, I would use my loader icon from Lucia's Svelte. Give this class of size 4 and animates spin, and else I will just have our text or save that, and we should see the changes reflect very soon. Just make sure everything imported correctly, and yeah, we are good. So now we've actually set up the form to actually add a product, but we don't have any form action set up yet, so this won't actually work if we do anything. So what we want to do is go back to our server file and we'll create an action to actually create a product. So by now you should know how to create form actions in SvelteKit. I'm going to be using the snippet, so I'll go kit actions and they should create for me this little boilerplate snippet code, and I'll be using the default action. I'll make this an asynchronous arrow function, and from here we would the structure request. I can say const form is equal to await super validate, and in here we'll pop in the request and we'll use the Zod adapter to put in our add form schema. Yeah, we'll check if the form is invalid. So I'll say if exclamation form dot valid. Yeah, I just want to return fail. And the fail we are going to be returning this time is not going to be the one from SvelteKit or from SvelteJS/Kit. It's going to be the one from SvelteKit Super-Forms. And the reason why we're using this one from SvelteKit Super-Forms is because we are dealing with images and there can be some nuances here and there. So SvelteKit Super-Form has this fail wrapper that just helps us do everything, so we don't have to bother about them at all. If we use the SvelteKit fail, then we're going to have to handle all those things by ourselves. But by using the SvelteKit Super-Forms fail, it does it all for us. So that's what we're going to use. So fail, and we want to, it's basically the same way it works. So we'll return a status code which is 400 and then return the form. Yeah, I just want to make sure that this actually imported, because a lot of time they don't import, and it actually did import. All right, so after we've validated the form, check that okay, the data passed in the form were actually valid. Then the first thing we want to do is I want to create a directory. The reason I'm creating this directory is because this is where I want to be storing the files. So I would use fs to do this. So I'll just write await and an a before the await, my bad, sorry, and await fs, and we want to import fs from, just go up here and import, okay, that's not spelling import, import fs from fs/promise. That's the one we want. So I can use await fs dot mkdir, which is to make a directory, and I'll call the directory products, and then I'll give the option of recursive true. With const file path. So I'm just creating a variable that will store the file path here, and we'll use backticks here because we want to use some JavaScript in here. So I'll say backticks and then products, and this is going to be the file path, products $ curly braces. Then I'll use the math.random to create a random number from 0 to 1, math.random. This is in order to make the file path unique. And I put dash right after the curly braces, then another curly braces with a dollar sign in front of it to put in the name of this file. The form dot data dot file dot name. Now we can have a wait here. This time is to actually write the file. We've created directory now. We want to write to there, so we'll go fs dot write file, and the first thing we want to put here is the file path. So I'll put in the file path there. Then we want to use buffer, so it will be buffer dot from. Then we type await, and this is going to be the file itself. We want to use array buffer, so to be form dot data dot file dot array buffer, and we just call that. And here we can once again create a new directory, so to be await fs dot mkdir. This time we want to store it in our statics folder, so we have this folder in SvelteKit static folder that we can use the absolute file path to get the files located there from. So we can just store the files here. We can say static, and this time we are creating this folder to keep the images there. So I'll say static slash products, and here we also want to use recursive true. And now I can create the image part. Remember, I already created the file part. Now I'll create the image part. So image part, and you guys should please try not to get confused. The reason why we have all this is because we're actually working with two different types of files. So here we are creating the one for the files, which is the file that we are actually selling, and then we are handling all of that with just these 3 lines. And now we are doing this second one is going to be for the images of the products, like the preview images and the ones that show up in the store, and we're handling it right here. So it's not really not confusing. I hope nothing is actually confusing. So to be image parts will be equals to, we want to use backticks here as well because we'll be having some JavaScript. Now once started with a starting string slash or whatever you call that, we want to start with that because of this is what we'll be using. We'll just be popping in our image src attributes, and it's going to be getting it from this static folder. So that's how Vite works. So you just do slash and then an image name is going to come in here and get it from here, from this static folder. So we want to use slash here. Or if you don't put slash here, then that means every time you are importing this or you are getting this from database and then you are putting this in an image file, you're going to have to remember to put in the slash. In order for us not to always have to remember to put in that slash, I'll just put it here and we can forget about it. Oh yeah, products slash. Again, you want to create a random number, so the dollar sign, and we can actually use cryptography here, but I just prefer that this is far better. Well, not far better, but just far easier, and we don't need all that much. So I'll go with math.random, and we'll put a dash here, and we'll have another curly braces and a dollar sign in front of it, and we'll put in the name of the image. So it'll be form dot data dot image dot name, and in here we can actually just write to that file. So I'll just copy this first one that we did, paste it. This time it's going to be the image part, and we'll buffer from, and this time it's going to be the image. Now that that is done, we can actually create these products in our database. So I'll use a try and catch block here. So I'm kind of waiting for this my snippet, but if it's refusing to run, then we can just write it down. So await db dot product. Now one, because we actually have a product. If I go to my Prisma, remember we have the product model, we should translate to having a product table. Now we can actually only read from there. We can write to it as well. We can update there and a lot more. So I want to actually import db from the hooks file, and we can actually get some TypeScript beauty now. So I can do product, not products, product dot create, and curly braces data. Now we'll pop in the data I want to create here. So now we should actually have strong typing. So we actually see all of the available fields. I'm just going to go for the name, and for the name to be form dot data dot name. For the description, that's going to be the form dot data dot description. And one nice thing that we could have done here was simply just destructure all of this from here and just pop them in here. So you can do that if you want. I'll just follow this part to make it very explicit on what we are doing. So the price in cents would be the form dot data dot price in cents. Now we can just pop in here the file part because we already have this here and they are the same name, so we can just go file part. And same thing for the image part, and we'll go for is available for purchase. So by default it's always going to be false, like that. Save this, and outside of the try, after we've done our try and our catch, now the error is definitely thrown, but there's no problem there. So outside of the try, I want to have a catch block. So I just write CCH for catch, and in here I get the error, and I'll just log out the error. My snippets are refusing to work today. The log error. And after the try and after the catch, we would redirect. Now I get a lot of people asking me questions that why can't we redirect inside the try block, and the reason for that is when we redirect, we don't actually return a redirect, we throw a redirect. And when you throw a redirect inside the try block, it's going to be caught by the catch block. So if you do it here, that's going to run this catch block, which is probably error handling and other things. So what you want to do is to put the redirect after the try and the catch. The redirect is only going to run after the try block is successful. If the catch block was the one run, that means the try block was unsuccessful and there was an error, and then the catch block ran, it probably will not run the redirect because of you would have like a return statement or it's going to get caught here. So the redirect would not run if the catch block ran. Just need to explain this. And right now in SvelteKit version 2, we do not have to explicitly write true, so we can just write redirect, and SvelteKit handles that for us. I'll import that, and I'll go 303. That'll be our status code, and the route that wants to redirect them to be the product route. So /admin/ products. Nope. And I'll save that. And here we can check our browser on how this is doing. Alright, now let's test this. I'll give this the name of product 1. Make this $50, and this is product 1 description. Choose a file. I'll just choose an image. cat image. And for the image as well, I'll choose the same cat image, and I'll save, and let's see what happens. And all right, let's give this a second. It doesn't seem like anything happened, so let's check the console if an error was thrown. And yes, an error was thrown, so it says no such file or directory. Okay. So what's happening is that we are trying to write to this image path part trying to write to this part, and it doesn't exist because we didn't actually create this part. So what we want to do, this is the part that we created, this static slash product. So what we want to do is actually put statics in front of here. So I'm going to use my backticks, and because I know this is JavaScript variable, we'll put it inside there, and here I can say statics. And since that a slash is already in front of this image part, we don't have to put a slash. We can just leave this like this, and I can save this. And if I open my Explorer, you will notice that we actually add this products folder created. So he actually went and created this product, and when it was about time to run this particular one, an error was thrown. It couldn't do this, and that's why we had the error in the console. What we can do is actually just delete all of these files, or we could leave them as is. It doesn't really matter. Let's leave them as is, and let's do this one more time. Let's make sure we save that first. Save. All right. Now we'll go product one. Price in cents will be $5. Description will be this is a description. All right. And we choose a file, we should just be the cat file, and we choose the image, the cat image, and save this, and by the grace of God this time it should work. So let's see, and yeah, seems like something happened again. All right, let's check this time what happened. So open my console, and yeah, we are getting some funny looking errors. And it's actually the same error. So what I want you to take note is that it's actually static without an S, and I'm putting statics here with an S. So we need to get rid of the S, and we'll save this, and let's check this out one more time. And I promise you this time it should work. We're taking care of all the errors and little spelling typos. And let's just check this out one more time and see how it goes. So the name would be product one, the price, whatever price you want to give it. Description, I'll just randomly pop in product one multiple times. And for the file will be the image, and the image will be the image. And this time we should save, and it should redirect, and everything should be okay. So let's go. And bam, works. So as you can see, it redirected us back to the product page, and that table now is filled with one product because we just added that one product, and we have the name as product one, we have the price, and we have orders, which is 0, and we also have this drop down showing the download, the edit, and the activate. And if you notice here, we have this X mark, which indicates that this product is not yet activated, it's not yet available for purchase. We can go back to our editor, and we can continue. Now that we can actually see the products on our table, and we have what to work with, we can continue with where we ended in the product part and create those actions for those drop down. I'm going to go back to the product file, and you will remember that we have the toggle active status, which was this one. And we also want to create a delete action as well. So we have this little typo here, we have this scene. I don't need that here. I want to create the delete product action. Make sure I put a comma, and I'll just write delete products, not products, product, and this will be in synchronous. I want to structure requests from here, const form data would be equals to await request dot form data, like so. And the reason why we are using the native SvelteKit way of handling form here and not using SvelteKit Super-Forms, because I think this actually makes more sense and it's far easier. And yes, we can use SvelteKit Super-Forms in this place. We can if we wanted, but it's just unnecessary, and I don't think we need to pop it in here and import yes and import that. I just use the native one, and it works perfectly because we don't actually have any forms. We don't have complex forms. Just a little button, a little action, and it's good. So here we can get the ID, and we've not actually set up the ID and all of that yet, but let's just pretend like we have and get the ID. So use form data dot get, and in here we'll put in the name of the field, which is ID. That is what we would name it, and we use as string because later on it's going to give us a little error telling us that ID is not of type string. And what we want to do here is find this particular product, and then when we find that product, we would check if that product has any order. If it does have orders, we don't want to delete it in that case, because we don't want to go ahead and delete a product that has been ordered by people. So if it has orders, then leave it. But if it doesn't have orders, we'll go ahead and we'll delete it. And we also delete the files that's related to that product as well. Make sure that we keep our makeshift storage clean. I'll go with const product is equal to await db dot product dot find unique, because we want to find one product, and what we'll use to find this will be the ID. I would write here say where ID is equal to ID, and would select the count, and from the count would select order, and order will say order true. And here we can now check. So we say if prog dot, that means if we have product, and product dot count dot order is greater than 0, we just want to return. So right here, what would be very nice for us to throw a little message telling the users or the admin that this product has more than one order, or it has at least one order, and we don't want to delete this product. But for our use case, we can just return. And if this was false, if this did not run, then it would come down here, and we'll go with const deleted, because we now want to actually delete the product. So to deleted product, not delete product, would be equals to await db dot product dot delete, and we'll delete it with the ID. So where ID. And now that we have that deleted product, we can use it to unlink a lot of the files, delete the files. So we can use await here, fs dot unlink. I mean, you actually need to import fs. So I'll come above here, import fs from fs slash promises. Now we can do fs unlink, and you want to put on the paths. So the first one is going to be the file path. I can just write here deleted product dot file path, and I can duplicate this line, and I'll change it from file path to image path. And remember that this image would be in our static folder, so we want to actually append static here. I'll put it in backticks. Wrong. And put the $ curly braces to keep that JavaScript, and I can put static right here. Make sure that there's no space, like so. And if I go back to the page, you can see that we actually haven't done the action for the delete, and we can do that now. First thing we'll do is complete this action attribute to be $/delete product. If you remember, that was what we actually named the action. And once you use enhance, and the method would be post, and in form would have a button. This button would have class with full text destructive, so we let them know that this is a destructive action and doing it is at your own risk. So disabled would be equals to, now since we are actually doing all the checks on the server, but we also like to do the checks on the client as well, to again get the user the best of experience. So the client will be the first line of defense. If for some reason the person was able to bypass that, then it will get blocked on the server. And we'll use the product dot count dot order is greater than 0. So that will be disabled if we have an order for that product. And now in the bottom, you can actually put in the drop down item. All I will do is just copy this one we have here and use it here as well. Save that, make sure that formats properly. And in here, we won't have an if block, we'll just have a delete text. And I also want to make this drop down menu item a type of submit. And I also want to give it this disabled attribute as well. And I'll use Ctrl+K+S to save all saved file in the editor. And one more last thing is we will also want to send the ID as well. So outside of the button, but still inside the form, we will just have a regular input. This input will be of type hidden, and the name would be ID, and the value would be the product PRO for product dot ID. We can save this and we can test this. And before we test this, let's just create one more product so we actually have things to work with. I'll go with product 2. Get this crazy price, type in anything here, doesn't really matter, description. And for the file, you can just choose the second cat image. And I'll save this. And now we have two products, product 1 and product 2. For product 1, what I'm going to do is okay, so clearly, all right, for product 1, I will deactivate this. So the reason why it was activated was because of previously I paused the video and I tested that out. So as you can see, we can activate and we can deactivate, essentially acting as a toggle. And we can also delete. So if I click on this delete button, it should delete this file. So let's test this out. And yeah, it does delete, and we only have the product 2 remaining. Nice. And as you can see, we also have two other actions here. We have an edit and we have a download. So when I clicked on the edit, it took me to this route, which doesn't exist. And that's why there was this 4.4 not found. And we can fix that now by actually creating the actions for the edit and for the download. Let's begin with the edit. So for the edit, all we have to do is create a dynamic route in our products folder or in our products route. I'm going to use my SvelteKit extension to create routes. So in order to create a dynamic route in SvelteKit, we need to put it in the bracket, the square bracket. The name of this dynamic route will just be ID, signifying that in here what would be expecting will be the product ID. And I can, after the ID, I can do slash, and I can put in edit in here. I click enter. And for that route, I want to select the plus page.svelte file and a plus page.server.ts file. And OK, and it will create this route for me. So as you can see, we have this dynamic route ID, and in that dynamic route, we have another route for the edit, and in the edit, we have the plus page.server.ts and the plus page.svelte file. Now for the edit route, it's going to be very similar to the add route in terms of UI, but in functionality, it won't actually be adding a new product, but it would be editing a certain product. What we can do is go to the new or the add product page, Ctrl A to and Ctrl C to copy everything here. Go back to the edit page, Ctrl A and then Ctrl V to paste everything there. And everything should kind of work properly without you needing to edit anything in terms of the import, because of we use all this $sign lib, which is kind of cool. And the only thing that we actually need to do is actually add the form returned from the server in the server file, but that can wait for now. What we're going to do in here is to edit some of the things that we don't need and add some of the things that we need. So first of all, I'm going to change this from add product to edit product. And for the action, it's not going to be product/new. It's going to be product slash. Yeah, we want to get the ID, the dynamic route, because again, we are in the dynamic route. We want to get the ID of that product. So the way we do it, yeah, we can actually do it a couple of ways. We can get it from the server, returned, and then use it here. But a very nice way of doing this here is by using the page store, which is by far my probably the most favorite thing that Svelte implements. It's just an amazing tool to have. So we can use the page store. Very, very powerful, this one. And remember to change this to backticks if you want to use JavaScript in here. I'll use the page, and we'll import this from app/store, and then we can pop in the $sign in front of it to subscribe to it, and we can do .params, then .id, and we can go /edit because that is the route. And we are having a little issue here because of we don't have this in a curly braces, so make sure you put this in a curly braces. And we can leave the rest the way they are. In terms of the form, we can leave it the way it is. The only thing I would want to change is just to preview the file and the image, so that the user that is editing this file knows, okay, this is the image I edited past, and so on and so forth. For the file, since we won't actually know what type of file this is and some other information about the file, what we can just simply do is just put the file path down somewhere for the user to see, or for the admin to see. So I'll just have a div, yeah, and class would be text muted foreground, and in here will simply be data.product dot file path. And now we don't actually have product being returned. We'll do that later on. And for the image, we'll come under the input and have an image tag here. And for the src, it's going to be data dot product dot image path. And for the else, we can just say product. And for the class, you can go with height 200 pixels, width would be 400 pixels, and object cover. And yeah, all of this should work the way we want it to work. Now the next thing we want to do is go to the server file and fix all of these errors that we have. So I like to just clean this up. Now begin with a kit load. I'll get rid of this part. And in here I can destructure params. And from params, I can destructure the ID. So very nice, quick, easy way of getting the ID. No stress. And I can get that product first of all. I can say product would be equal to await db. Now we need to import db. And db dot product dot find unique, because we actually want to find one unique record or item. And I just want to talk about this thing that it does where you auto import and then it goes and uses JS instead of TS. I do not know why it does that. The best thing you can do is just to get rid of it. It won't throw an error, or you can just leave it. Doesn't do anything. So in here we can just have where, and where would be the ID is equal to the ID, and since they are the same name, we can just use ID, and JavaScript knows what to do. Now we've gotten the product like this, and we can return. And we'll first of all return the form because that is needed. So it will be await super validate from SvelteKit Super-Forms. So I'll make sure I import that. And in here, this time the first param that we'll be putting in here won't be the schema. It's going to be the product. Because of the product, what we want to do is that when we click on the edit action and we get taken to the form to edit, we want all of those fields to be already populated, to be pre-populated, so that we can just edit the ones we want. And when we save them, the ones that were there before that we didn't edit will be added, and there won't be any issues there. So the way we do that is by just putting in as the first argument the product that we got from our database. Now, if all we need to do is to make sure that the schemas does match partially. SvelteKit Super-Forms is intelligent enough to know what to do with it. So all we need to do is make sure that the schema matches partially and it works. And in our case, the schema matches perfectly, not even partially, perfectly. So it's going to work the way we want it to work. I can just put product right here, and then the second argument will be this. When using the Zod adapter, make sure we import that, and we'll put in our schema, which is going to be add from schema. And the third one is I'm going to set options here, and the options I want to set is errors to false. And I also want to return the product, so I'll put in here product as well. Now below here we want to create the action. I'll do kit actions, and just mind you, it doesn't really matter the where you create the action. You can create the action above. The order is not important. I just like doing my load functions first, then the actions second. Just preference. Now this is going to be a default action. We can go with default, and pretty much 99% of the time it's going to be an asynchronous function. And we can get the request, destructure the request, and we can also destructure params, and from params we can destructure the ID. Const form will be equal to await super validate. Super validate is from SvelteKit Super-Forms, and the first argument here is going to be the request. The second is going to be Zod. Again, the Zod adapter, because we're using the Zod validation library. And I'll say add from schema. And it won't just end there, but I was just using add from schema. What I want to do is I don't want to make the file and image necessary, because remember we are editing the file. We are editing the product, and most likely the products add a file and an image. Pretty much add a file and an image because we make sure of that. We make sure that that was added before we created that product in our database. So it's already previously has a file and has an image. So what we want now is to be able to edit that image. So we can edit the image and we can add it. But if we didn't edit the image, let's say for example, for that product, I just wanted to change the name and then I change the name. I shouldn't have to put in a new image and a new file in order to be able to create this in our database. So I don't want to make the file and the image necessary for them to be able to edit this action or edit this product. So there's one nice thing that we can do in Zod, which is to say partial, and then we can choose the fields that we are going to make optional, which should be the file, we'll say true, and the image true as well. Another way you can do this is just basically create a new schema that will match this, but this way is just cleaner and we don't have to create a new schema or any of that. After doing that, we can check if this form was valid. So exclamation form dot valid, and if it wasn't valid, just want to return fail. And remember, the fail is going to be from SvelteKit Super-Forms this time because of handling images. And in here, the first thing will be the status code, which is 400, and then we'll return the form. And what we can do here is we can begin by getting the product, the const product is equal to await db dot product dot find unique, where id is equal to id, and we can check that if that product doesn't exist, we want to do something. So if this product doesn't exist for some reason, maybe someone is trying to play with us, so if this product doesn't exist, we'll just return. Now again, this will be a very nice place to return some message or through an error page, any of that, but for our use case, this is very much okay. And we say let file path be equal to product dot file path, and check if the form dot data dot file exists, meaning that if you actually added a new file, we want to delete the old file, so we await fs dot unlink, and then we'll put that file path, and we want to import fs, import fs from fs slash promises. Then after we've deleted that, we can now see, now we want to create a new file path. We should just file path will be equal to backticks product slash math dot random dash the file name. So it's going to be form dot data dot file dot name, and after this we await fs dot write file, because we want to write to that folder, and we'll put in the path, which should be file path. Second argument will be buffer dot from await form dot data dot file dot array buffer as such. I want to basically do the same thing for the image as well. So I can just copy this. I change every instance of file to image or to image path. Okay, that is incorrect. IMAGE. You want to check for the image, not the file. And in the image part, we want to replace it with, like, there needs to be like a slash in front of here. If you remember, that's how we worked with it. And in here as well, we want to unlink. Static must be in front of it. So it's inside the static folder. I'll use my backticks here. Publishing curly braces and static. And I'll change here as well to image. Nope. Right, that's not correct. Change here as well to image. It was actually getting this other image, this one here, and I didn't want to change that. Why is this not text typing correctly? All right. Now we can come out and we can update. Come out, put my try and catch block. Try await db.product.update. Where ID is the ID and data, the name will be the form dot data dot name. The description would be form dot data dot description. The present tense will be form dot data dot present. Why is this popping up? This little thing. Get off, bro. The present tense. And yeah, we can just pop in here the file part. And the same thing for the image part as well. And after they try, you can just have a catch. Come on. Don't get the error. We want to just console log the error. And after all of that, we want to redirect 303 to the admin, pull a slash one of that, admin slash products. And you can go ahead and save this file. So I'm going to use Ctrl-K-S, and the redirect did not import, so let's make sure that imports. Come on. All right, there, we can save it now, and we can test this out. All right, so let's click on the edit button, and here we are in this edit product page, and as you can see, all the fields have been pre-populated, and we have the image of the cat right here, and we also have the part of the product. Now we can change this from product 1, from product 2 to product 2 edit. We can also change the image of the cat as well. You can change it to this first cat, and I'll save this, and it's telling us to please upload a file. All right, so let's fix that. And the reason why it's actually happening is because of we did the partial schema on the server but not on the client. So it's actually happening on the client now. We need to just go to our plus page, that's Svelte file. You see that we have the add form schema right here. We need to just do dots partial And here we'll select the image to true and the file to true as well. Make sure we save that properly. I'm gonna run the test one more time. So we'll change this to product to edit, and we'll change the image to the first one, and we'll save. Any issues this time? And let's check the terminal. What actually happened? And we got this very similar error that we got the last time, telling us that no such file in directory product slash blah blah blah. And let's check our server. This time it's coming from the server. Make sure that we actually set up everything properly. The error is coming from here, which is the fact that it's not able to find this part. So it's saying no such file or directory here. So what I'm going to do is every time I run this action, I want to log out this file part. I just console log that. And this is how I debug, so I'm just giving you guys a little tips. So I'm just going to check out what this is actually is, and if it's actually the same as this thing here. And if it's the same, then that means it exists, and I'm not sure why the errors will be thrown. But let's check it out first of all. We can name this to prod to edit, and we won't actually change anything for now. Let's just leave it as it is and save. And the save actually works. But now when I go back to edit, you see that this image is actually not showing up. And I think that was where the issues were coming from the last time. Was that right here, the same mistake we did the last time, where we didn't put static in front of this when we are writing to it. So it's being written to the product folder, and that's the static folder, not the product inside the static folder. So we can easily fix that by appending static here. Make sure that we properly change this. And yeah, this should work now. So let's save this one more time and edit this product one more time. Give my browser more area, and we can change this once it completely reloads. Alright, then choose file, go with this one, and I'll save. Come on, bro. Something happened again. Something did happen again. And the error we're getting is very similar to the last time. So the problem now is that this is kind of corrupted, these products, because of we have this file path which doesn't exist. So what we're going to do is just go back to the dashboard, or probably the products. We'll create a new product. This time it's going to be product 3. And we'll delete product 2. And we'll test it out with product 3. Just quickly create a new product. And yeah, let's edit product 2. For this product 3, product 3 edit. And which, as you can see, previews, I'll change this to this other cat, and I'll save, and it works. I can go back. If I click on edit, you should see that new cat photo. Correct. Now going back, I'm going to delete product 2 edit because now it's, as I said, a bit corrupted. I'll delete that, and trying to delete it, we have these errors, and that's simply because of it's trying to use that file path that we created that doesn't exist to delete it, and that didn't exist, so it's going to try an error, but it's okay. There's nothing wrong with our action. Our action is actually very fine. So we're going to go back to our products, and you see that it should be deleted. Alright. Now let's undo the download action. Remember, in the drop down, we have this little download button. When we click on this download button, we want to download this product file. The way we'll do it is by using API endpoints in SvelteKit. So in this dynamic route still, we'll create a new route here. So I can just go and use SvelteKit files, create route, and we'll call this download. and in download we just get a plus server.cs file. And in this .server.cs file, this plus server.cs file, we can create endpoints, get, post, put, delete, and so on and so forth. The one that we'll be using here is going to be a get, just like this, but we won't actually need all of this. Sorry, we'll get rid of this as well. And in here, we can also get the params. So I can get params, and from params I can structure the ID. And I can use that ID to get the product. So product is equal to await db. Then make sure that we import db from where it's kept. So db dot product the find unique. By this time you should know what we are using. Find unique to get a unique product. And where, you guessed it, ID is equal to the ID. And we just want to select some few fields, just the file path and the name. So we'll use the select, the file path, true, and the name, true. Okay, make sure we correct that. Now that we have the product, we want to check if this product exists. So I'll do simple if exclamation product. So if this product doesn't exist, I'll just return new response. So this is going to say product does not exist. And if it does exist, we'll continue down to this line. We'll get the size equals to await fs dot start, and we need to import fs. Import fs from fs slash promises, and you can say fs dot start, and we'll put in the file path here. It should be products dot file path, and we can just get that file path by using fs.read to get that file itself. So it should be const file would be equals to await fs dot read file, and here we put in product dot file path. Now we can get the extension, which is either if it's a .mp4 or .png, just the extension of this file. So say extension will be equal to product dot file path dot split. Now I want to split it at when we get the first dot, and then we don't want to pop. And now I can return something. So in this return new response, first thing we can put in here will be the file, which is this, and the second thing will be options, and in the options we want to add the headers. So I have my curly braces here, sorry, and we can say headers. For the headers, we can have, first of all, the content type. I just want to make sure this is capital C. Content type would be backticks, application slash, and then the extension that we got. So I'll put in my curly braces here with the dollar sign in front of it. Extension, sorry. After this, we'll have the content length. content dash length. It should just be that size. But this is going to increase some TypeScript errors, so we can see dot to string. And the last one would be the content disposition. Just right here, content disposition like so, and backticks again. We can just say attachments column a file name will be equals to the product dot name. Then we'll put dots and then we'll pop in the extension here. Extension. And let's just give this a double check, make sure that all this is correct. And yeah, I can now control K and S to save all unsaved files on the editor. And we can test this out now. So I can go back to our browser. And now I can try to download this file. So let's see. Click on the download. And bam, it downloads for us. You can see products 3 edits. That's JPEG. And I can open this. And it would probably be exactly the cat image. Now we've handled the product the product section successfully. Let's just make this activate. Let's activate this. The next place that we want to focus on will be the customers or the users. So let's do that. Move over to our editor. Open our Explorer in the on or in the admin folder, anyone you choose. We'll just use the SvelteKit file create route, and this will be the users route. And we just want to get the plus page.svelte plus page.server.ts as well. And yeah, in here we can just get rid of this part. We don't need this part. You can save this, Ctrl K S. Make sure that everything saves, and we can navigate there to our customers route so that we can actually see what's going on as we code. Now this page is going to look similar to the product page. So one thing we can do is go to the product page, copy it and paste it here, or just replace whatever text we have on this users page with that, and we can just edit this. So first of all, we want to get rid of, in fact we don't actually need a button to navigate, so we just get rid of this div here, and on the page header we change this from products to customers, and we'll get rid of button as well. And on the table we want to change the head. So the first head is going to be email. I can come here and I can write email, and this won't be SR only, so we can get rid of this span. The second head would be others. Third would be the value, and we get rid of this others here, and you can leave this one the way it is because we also want to have actions as well. What I can put here is just text right, because I want this to fly to the far right. And for the body, it won't be data.product but data.users. So before we actually continue and pop in things here, let's actually undo that. So we'll go to our plus page.server.ts file, and then the list load action would return the users. In return here, yes, directly return here, users would be await db. Now we need to import db from our hooks file. db.user find many, because we want to find all of our users. Now we also want to select some few fields, so we use select ID would be true, and the email true as well, and order. Now we want to get the price paid in cents, that is for these users, or for a certain user I want to get the price he paid in cents. So what I'm going to do here is order, and from order you can just select price paid in cents true. And I also want to order this by when the user was created. So I can come right after the select and say and type order by created at and be sending order, so DSC for the sending. And I can save this, and this should work nicely. So I can go back to my plus page.svelte file, and now we should have the data.user, and all these red lines should show because of they don't actually exist. Yeah, so we can change this to user. The first cell is going to be for the email, so we'll just replace all of these and write here user.email. The second is going to be for the order, so we want to format the number first of all. So use our format number utils function, and in here we just put in the user dot order dot length. Third cell is going to be for the price paid in cents. So what we want to do here, just pay close attention, is because of right now the price paid in cents, they are going to be in an array because of the user would have paid for multiple products and so on. So when we get the price paid in cents, it's going to be in an array. And what we can do is we can use the reduce array method to get the sum of everything and also divide it by 100 to convert it to from cents to dollars. So that's what we're going to do here. Let's come over here and use user dot order. Now, since this is going to be, as I said, an array of price paid, price in cents, I can do dot reduce. I can get the sum, and I can get the order. So I can just use O to represent the order. I can say the O dot price paid in cents. ICE. Okay, so that should actually auto-complete for me, but if it's not going to, we can just write it out. Paid in cents. Alright, so the reason why it's not actually auto-completing is because of this is not being written correctly. So I'll just copy this whole thing and rewrite it because right now it's a bit off. So get rid of that, and I'll open that like this. In fact, let's just paste this in here, and in here we can just put an open in here, and yeah, that should fix it. So now price paid in cents should actually, yeah, exactly. And we can say this O dot price paid in cents plus, now we want to plus sum, and put 0 right here, and outside that we'll divide this by 100 and save that and make sure that that works properly, and it doesn't. So yes, as I thought, there was a little bit of an error. So what we need to do is just put a closing brackets here, and this should work. Yeah. All right. So if I just go to my customers page, you see that we shouldn't actually have any customers showing here. It should be empty. And we also have red lines here, which is because of this is not correct. That should not be price paid in cents. That should be price in cents, like so. And for the Next cell, we will just get rid of all this here. And I just want to put a drop down, but since this last cell has the drop down already, it'll be easier to use that. So we can just get rid of this cell totally. And in this drop down here, what I want is just one action, and that action will be to delete a particular user. So if we want to delete that user, we can just go to the action and delete the user. So I'm going to get rid of all of the other actions there. You just need one. So this form action will be gotten rid of, and this ones as well. And for the form, I'll just change the action to delete user, and the button would be of class with full yes and text destructive, and the text will just say delete, and we'll only send one input, and the input will be sending the user's ID. And yeah, that should work. So I would save this, and what you should see right here will be an empty list because we don't have any user. And what we can do is I want to show like a state if there is no user. So I want to just show like a simple no customer found text. So what I'll do now to make this very neat is I'll pop this table in a snippet. So I'll just cut that, and I'll use create a snippet. I'll call this user table. And in here, I'll paste in that table, and I can just close this off. I don't need to see this anymore. So above here, I'll just have an if block. It says if data dot the users dot the length. Now if the length is equal to 0, then no user was found, and I'll just have a p tag saying that no customer found. Let's have an else here. So if there were users, I'll just render out my users table. So I use at render user table. Now put my parentheses there like such, and I'll save this. Now let's see the way this looks. We have this no customer found being shown. Now we can do the same thing for the product because of initially we won't have any product, so you can go ahead and do very similar thing that we just did now to the users page to the for the product page as well. Now we can move on and create the orders page. The orders page as well is going to be a table of all of our sales or orders made. So we can copy this and basically use that as boilerplate for the orders page. Now in the admin folder, we can just have our SvelteKit files, create route, and call this orders. And we will choose the plus page the svelte and the plus page the server.ts. And yeah, you can simply just paste what we copied, and we'll change this from no customer to no sales, if that is how to spell sales. And we can change the customer header to sales. And this user won't actually say user but orders, and we need to change that on our server file. So before we actually continue, let's make that change on the server, and then we'll continue. And go to the orders and get rid of this. Also get rid of this as well. Now directly here in the return, we can just go orders await db, make sure we import db dot order dot find many, and we want to just select some fields to be returned. First will be the ID, true. The price in cents, true as well. We should have a comma here. The product, you can just select some few fields from this product, just one basically. And that will be the name. I get the name, true. And the user, you can just select the email. So say email would be true. And after the select, you just want to order it by the time it was created. So I'll use the order by created at, and can use the sending. I'll save that, and I'll go back to the page file. And now I can change all the places that I need to change. Now I want to change this from user table to order table, and the first head would actually not be email but product, and second would be customer, the third would be price paid, and the fourth would be an action, so leave that as such. Now for the each block, this won't be user but orders as order, and the first cell would be order, not user. So let's just change this to order dot the product name, so it will be product dot name, and the second cell would be the user's email. It's going to be order dot user dot email. The next one would be the price paid in cents, and we need to convert that to dollars, so I would say format currency. And since we already have format currency here, we can just pop in here order dot price in cents divided by 100, and we save that. And the next one would be action, which is to delete the order. So you can just say slash delete order. And if you remember, we actually created the UI for the action to delete the user, but we didn't actually create the action itself, so we will need to get back to that after we're done with this. So we'll leave this as delete. Basically, this is going to have everything. The only thing we're going to change here is the ID is not going to be the user.id, but the order.id. And we'll save this. We'll move back to the plus page.server.cs file, and we'll create that action. So we'll say kit action, and we'll get rid of this here, and we'll call this basically the same name. We call the action, which was delete order. So I'll copy and I'll paste that. Synchronous arrow function, and in here we get the request, and we'll be able to use form data here. So form data will be equal to await request dot form data const id would be equals to form data dot get, and the name is id. It is as string, and now we can delete it with db dot order dot delete, and where id. Save this, and as I said, we need to go back to our users to complete that action. So go back to our users server file, and we'll have a kit actions, get rid of this part. And the thing here is it's basically going to be identical to the way we deleted the orders, just that we're going to have to change every instance of orders to user. So I can just copy this, the code itself. In fact, I'll copy the whole thing and I'll paste right here. And here that I have order, I'll change it to user. So I'll look for every part of order and I'll change it to user, like that. And I'll save that, and that should work properly. Now I'm going back to my browser to check it out. So let's see how this actually looks. But since we don't have any customer, no sale, we should just see no customer found and no sales found for now, until we actually created users that are able to make those actions happen. So we've actually done with this admin, we've done the dashboard, we've done the products, we've done the customers, and we've done the sales. Now, if there's anything that happens like a bug and we need to fix them, we will come back to fix them. For now, we are done with the admin. What is left for us to do is to actually secure this admin and make sure that not everybody can access it, because right now it's just a route away, the /admin, and you are able to access it. So the way we'll be doing this is by using Lucia auth to add authentication to the application that only admins can actually sign in with that credential, and they'll be able to gain access to the admin page and be able to perform those certain actions. So now I need you to follow along. Go to the Lucia auth documentation and go to the getting started page. In the getting started page, you're going to choose SvelteKit. And when you choose getting started with SvelteKit, you should be on this page. What we want to do first of all is to install Lucia or Lucia, and then when we install Lucia, we also want to install Oslo, and because this is an underlying library that Lucia uses. So we'll copy this. Remember, I'm using PNPM, so I'll have to change this to P. And for Oslo as well, we'll paste this in here and change this to P as well. After doing that, we're going to have to initialize Lucia. Now, we're going to copy this whole thing. And one thing you should notice is that they are using the better SQLite 3 adapter. We would be using the Prisma adapter, but just copy this whole thing the way it is for now, and we'll change it later on. And you want to go to your hooks file and just below this, paste this here. And as for the imports, move them to the top of the file. And you'd see this setup hooks section. Now we can actually go line by line and explain what's going on here, but in order not to waste any time, I believe we can just copy this. It's actually very, very easy. You don't actually need all of this code really, but just copy and paste it. For our use case, it's actually very simple. We don't need all of this. Just paste this like so and leave it as such. Now that we've done that, we're going to want to install the Prisma adapter because we are not going to use the better SQLite adapter for this. So you go to your database, and in the database section, you should see the Prisma section. You can go there and you would see the Prisma adapter that we can install. So I'll copy that to my editor one more time, paste that, and convert that to PNPM. And you can also read through this if you want. Just go to the usage part, because that's what we need, and I'll copy this here. And instead of using this better SQLite, I'll remove this and I'll use Prisma adapter. But when we're using your client, we're using DB because that's what we named it. So to be db.session and db.user. And I want to import this Prisma adapter. And the auto import will not work because of we haven't refreshed our editor. But we can just copy this from here. Like that. So now this should work perfectly. And yeah, that's it. That's basically the whole thing. One other thing we want to do is to actually add some typings. So when we are using locals.users, we can actually add that type in there. And as you can see, we have red lines. And for this session as well, we're having red lines. So where you want to go to fix this is your app.ts file. So go to your app.ts and uncomment the locals interface or the interface locals. And in here we'll say user would just be of type import Lucia or Lucia, any how you want to pronounce it. I pronounce it Lucia. Dot capital letter U user or with a stroke. No, that's not actually a stroke. I've forgotten what that is, but you can see it, so you get what I'm saying. So I can say session would then be import Lucia dot session or no, and we can save that and we can go back and this red lines should disappear. Perfect. Now how we protect our admin page is by going to the admin route, and as you can see that we have a plus layer.svelte file. We can also have a plus layer.server.ts file. So I'll just create that file here. And in here we'll have a load function. And this load function, sorry, my bad. And this load function will just check if the user exists. If the user doesn't exist, we'll redirect them to the login page. So when every time they're trying to access this route or any routes inside of it, we would always check if the user exists. If the user doesn't exist, then we'll redirect them to the login page. That's how we'll keep this route secured. So I'll get locals from here. I'm just going to structure locals. And I can now check if locals, and locals is going to be type safe now, so we can get dot user. I'll just put exclamation mark in front of that. And if this was true, we just return a redirect. We don't actually have to return a redirect. We can just redirect directly. So I can just redirect, and the redirect is going to be from Svelte/kit, and status code will be 302, and the route will be login. And if you are taking notice, we don't actually have a login route yet. So let's create a login route. That's going to be in the root. So I just come to this route here. SvelteKit files create route login. You know the drill. The plus page.svelte and the plus page.server.ts. And in here, I want to create a login form. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to chassis and Svelte. And in chassis and Svelte, we have something new called blocks, where we can get like blocks of code that you can easily reuse, not just components, but of like very frequently used UI, like a login page and a dashboard page and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to scroll down for the easiest and simplest login, which is, I believe it's going to be this one right here. This one, just an email and a password. Very simple. You can get rid of, in fact, this is actually simpler. We don't have the login with Google button here. Yeah, so we can go with this one. And let's have a look some mobile actually looks very, very nice. Alright, so I can click here to just copy the code and I can paste it below here. Now we can get rid of this script. Yeah. Yeah, and we can edit to fit our needs. First of all, I want to wrap this whole thing inside of form tag. And I'll get rid of the action. And I'll move this down here. And just so that we can actually see what we are doing, let me save this whole thing and open the browser. And let this refresh. Now this should redirect us to the login page after this refresh, because of we don't actually we're not signed in, we don't have any session currently. So now we have this login form. So let's make sure we style that properly. So on the form tag, we get this class. And this class is going to be grid, height, screen, width, full, and place items center. This should move width to the center of the screen very nicely. And in here, we're going to be asking for a username and a password. So we'll say enter your username below to log into your account. Username and password. So we'll save that. Yeah. And all these inputs, we will change them to use form snaps inputs, so we can use SvelteKit Super-Forms. Firstly, I will need to create a form schema for this login form. So I'll go to my form schema file, and I don't know what this is doing here, but I'm going to create a new Zod object. Export const schema login schema would be equals to z object. First field will be the username, which is going to be z dot string dot nope that mean that's the would be 3, so at least 3 characters. And then password, I don't like being strict on my password. I'm forcing you to use uppercase, I'm forcing you to use lowercase, I'm forcing you to use this and that. So I'm just going to go with a minimum of 3 as well. That's minimum 3, doesn't really matter. And we save this, go back to our page. Now let's import form from here. The CNI form works? No. I really need them to fix that one up. The form import is is a bit long. So import asterisk as form from $lib / components / UI / form. Now I can use the form component. Okay, so we are getting some red lines, but they disappeared already, no issues. And in the card, what I want to do is to get rid of those divs that we have. We don't need them. We're going to be using the form field. Now the form dot field and we're going to pass in form, which we will not created yet, and then we'll also pass in the name, which for this one would be username. So a lot of red lines will show for now, but just keep on going with me. We'll fix them up later. And we can put in the form dot control. We can use the let derivative or derivative attributes, and then for the form label, form dot label, we say user name, and the input, we should auto input, spread the attributes there, att rs, and we bind value to $ form data dot username. Right now we don't have any of this, but again, let's just keep on going. We'll fix them up later on. I will copy this and I'll just paste this here one more time, and I'll change this from username to password. I'll change this username here to password as well, and here as well. I also want to make this input a type of password. Now we'll go above here and we'll now want to initialize SvelteKit Super-Forms. And on this page, first of all, I'll say let data is equals to $props. I can say const form is equal to super-form, get data dot form. Then the options, we can use the validator. We can import the Zod client and use the login schema. Just need to import that as well. And we can destructure from that form a couple of things that we're going to need. And the structure form is going to be from form data, and we'll rename form data because of form is already named here, so we can't use the two of the same name. I'm just going to need to import super-forms properly. All right, so now we have that. We also need to get enhance and delete. And mind you, there's actually another store called submitting, which actually just like delete, but delete takes like 3 milliseconds before it runs, which I like. I believe it has a better experience, whereas submitting becomes true immediately. So depending on the one you want to use, I prefer delete. Now that we've done that, we can actually complete this. For the button, I want to actually use an if block here to determine what I would show, whether a loading spinner or a sign in text. I use if with $sign delayed to loader, and loader is going to be from Lucia Svelte. And the auto import did not work, no problems. I can just say class would be equal to a size 4 and animate spin. Else, you just want to have a sign in text. Now for the now make sure this is validators, not validator, unless you're going to have errors. Now for the loader icon, we can just import this from Lucia Svelte ourselves by saying import loader. Make sure that is in capital letter L, in capital letter, loader from Lucia-Svelte / icons / loader. And you want to go to the server file to return form, because we still have that error. So in here, and by now you should know how we actually do this. You simply come here, returns and write form. It's going to be await super validate, and super validate is from SvelteKit Super-Forms. You can import Zod from the Zod adapter. and pop in our login schema right here. And I'll get rid of this page server load type. Make sure that the login schema imports. Save that. And I'll go back to the plus page.svelte file. And I'll save this as well. Now, the way we want this to work is by default, we already want a created admin user. We don't want to be able to create admin users from the dashboard because of it's kind of security risk. We don't want to be able to do that. We want to seed in the admin user's data into the database, and then we can log in as an admin user. Because I don't want to get kind of all difficulty and creating seed script and all of that. That kind of things can get pretty complicated, and it's not a good fit for this application, which I'm trying to be extremely easy with all of the way I'm moving around. So instead of doing in that pattern, what we're going to do is just simply run it on our form actions. So create a admin user using our form actions, and then we'll get rid of that code, and then we'll create the code to actually log in as an admin user. So we'll go to our plus page server.cs file and have a kit actions right here. Get rid of this. And what we can do here is create a default action. We can get the event. So in here, we go and write const form will be equal to await super validate. Super validate gets in here. First of all, we'll put in the event and then Zod and the login schema. I always make this silly mistake. Schema. Then I can check if the form is invalid. Return fail, and fail is going to be from svelte/kit. Say 400 and return the form. And what we can do is we can say const user ID will be equals to generate ID, and generate ID is going to be from Lucia. So we'll say generate ID, and this is to generate a user ID for us to secured, and we'll say 15 to say that the length should be 15, and we can nst const get the hash password, create the hash password and keep it in this variable. So we'll call it hashed password camel case would be equal to await new argon, and argon is going to be from Oslo, or however you pronounce that. So come in here and say import argon to ID from Oslo / password. So I can come here and say new argon to ID dot hash. Now I want to hash the password. So say form dot data dot password. Now I can create the user. Say await db dot db. We need to import db. The user does create, and would create a new user with all of these details, data, email. Let's get rid of all of these pop-ups. Email would be, now because of I am the admin user, I don't want to have a field to add email and all of that. I'll just add code it here. Spade at gmail.com. My hashed password would be basically my hashed password. The username would be my username that I'm going to be imputing in my form. So say form dot data dot username, and then I'll set the is admin boolean to true, and the ID would be the user ID. Just like that. And after we've done that, if that was successful, I'll do const. Okay, let's get the session. I say const session would be equal to await Lucia dot. I need to import Lucia. Alright, so let's import it manually. It's taking too much time. Scroll up. I'm going to import Lucia from the oops.server.file. Now, if you remember in our oops file, you might not remember because we were copying and pasting. We actually exported Lucia here. So we can get it from there. We can say Lucia like this. I can say Lucia dot create session. I can use the create session method. And in here, I'll just pass in the user ID and an empty bracket. And I'll say const session cookie would be equal to Lucia dot create session cookie. Here we'll pass in the session ID. Say session dot ID, and we can then write event dot cookies dot set. Now this is to set cookies, and the name will be the session dot name, and the value would be session dot value. And we'll have some options here. To set the path, just be dots, and we'll spread out the session attributes, or the session cookies attributes rather. Session cookie dot attributes. Save this, and now this should work properly. So let's test it out. Alright, so for the username, I'll call this Lawal, and for the password, I'll just type in password as the password, and I would sign in. But before we do that, you're having some red lines here. Alright, so the reason I'm having this red line is because I'm using session instead of session cookie. So I should be using session cookie rather than session. Alright, save. That's why it's kind of nice to use TypeScript. Alright, let's test this out. So, username would be Lawal and password would be password. Okay, let's make username admin. Makes more sense. And the password should be password. And let's sign in. and we don't get any indication whether it was successful or not. But one way we can know this is by going to our DB file. You see, you guys might not be able to open this, but I have a little extension that allows me open database or SQLite files. I can go to the user, and it wasn't successful, because if it was successful, we would have one new record here. All right, so let's check out what happened. Back to our login. So the first question is this actually working? So let's actually check if this is working. I have console logged the form here. So if this action ran, this should log something out. So when I click on my sign in, I don't see anything here. So let's check our terminal, and I also don't see anything here. So the action isn't actually running. Now let's check here. And the reason for that should be that our button is now of type submit. So let's make this of type submit. Save that. And let's give this a test again. So admin, and the password should be password, and sign in. Now that felt like something ran. It just felt, I just felt it. So let's check our DB one more time. Okay, we need to actually close this off and go to our DB one more. And yeah, we actually see that in the users table, you don't have any users still. All right, so this is a very ineffective and inefficient way of doing this. But let's try this one more time by checking if the form would log out something, and it still doesn't log out something, which is to indicate that this isn't running. And I think I have figured out why. It's because we don't have an action on our form. We usually don't have anything on our form, so it's not going to work. So let's fix this. The most important thing that we actually need here is simply a method of post. We do not need to put the action here, since we are on the same folder. The action could be exempted, but we can say post, and let's use enhance. All right, save that, and we'll try this out one more time to see how it actually does. Let's go back to our server file to see if it actually logs out anything. Admin, and password will be password, and yes, it does. It logs out this. And in our dev.db file, let's cancel out of this and open it one more time. Come on, and yes, we have one admin user created. So as you can see the hash password, you can see the username, the updated ad, the created ad, the email, and the ID. Nice. So now what we're going to do is get rid of this whole code. So this code was basically to seed the admin. So you're going to either comment this or delete this. I'll just comment it so that you can see reference it. And now the next action that we're going to create is to actually log in the user. So I'll check if there's an existing user. So I'll check const existing user will be equals to await db dot user dot find unique, where the we're going to use the username this time. The username is form dot data dot username. Now let's just convert this to lowercase, say to lowercase. And if there was actually an existing user, so if there was no existing user, because you want to check if this user actually exists, the user is about to log in, if he exists, you want to check. But if it doesn't exist, you just want to return nothing and end the function. Now You now want to validate that password, make sure that that password is valid. So const valid password would be equal to await new argon2 id dot verify. And in here we'll put in the first one is going to be the hashed password. So we'll say existing user dot hashed password. And because of this is going to be optional, TypeScript is going to throw some errors. I can just put my exclamation mark at the back of it to let TypeScript know that we know what we are doing, and it could go quiet about that error. And say form dot data dot, okay, this is not dot, this is comma, dot password. So the first argument here is the hash password. The second one is the password that the user is, that the admin is just imputing in, or have imputed in. And we can have an if blocks checking if the password was invalid. And if it was invalid, we'll just return as well. And if the password was valid and the user exists, we can now create a session. So what I can do is basically just copy this part here. And I'll uncomment this. So uncomment this as well. And for the user ID, is going to be existing user.id. And yeah, we can, after successfully creating a session cookie, we can redirect. Redirect is going to be from SvelteKit. We can redirect the user to the admin page. So we'll say 302 as the status code, and the route we want to redirect them to, it will be the admin route. And we'll save this. We'll also get rid of this console. Then let's save this again. And let's test this out in the browser. So first of all, let's try going to the admin page. Let's go to admin. And let's see what happens. So we are redirected to the login page because we are not logged in. So now let's log in. So username is admin and password. Okay, that's now to spell admin. And password is simply password. And I'll click on sign in and see what happens. And nothing. Nothing happens. Alright, so let's check out what happened and what could have gone wrong. Okay, so could it have been our credentials? I feel like it was actually it was like returning us in one of these, either on existing user did not exist, on the password wasn't valid. So I'll try this one more time, admin, and I'll try my password. And I'll sign in and still the same. So alright, let's check this out. So we're going to log things out on each of these. Just log I run. I'll copy this and I'll put this in here as well. And outside of here, I'll put this here as well, and I'll put this here. I'll just put it on different stops, different points. Now we can actually be using breakpoints for this, but I just prefer logs. I don't know why. So we'll use this to track where the issue might be coming from. Admin and alright, so yes, this, as you can see, it ran here. If an existing user did not exist, return. So this is where it's running. Alright, so we know that it's telling us that this user doesn't exist and that this username is incorrect. So if I go back to my DB file and the name we name this adim. that was the name we went for, not admin, we went for adim. So instead of creating a new admin user and all that, let's just go with that. So admin, that is the username. Hopefully you didn't make that silly mistake as well. And password will be password, and then we can sign in, and we should. Okay, so this ran, actually this ran successfully. Everything here ran successfully, but for some reason it did not sign us in. Let's try this one more time, and we are still not redirected. Okay, now from the error that I am getting on the terminal, it seems like Prisma is expecting the expires at in our session table, and we don't have that here. As you can see in our session model, we just have the ID, user ID, the user, but we don't have the expires at. So we need to add that. So I'll just not there. Let's come here and write in expires at, and this is going to be of date time, and I will have to run my Prisma generate npm.dlx Prisma generates. All right, let's run migrate first of all. Migrate should generate this for us. We'll give that a second to run. All right, so now that our database is now in sync with the schema, we can cut our terminal and run this again. In fact, this terminal is gone. Dev, right here. Was this actually in sync? Did we actually save this file? I don't think I saved this file, but I hope we did. I hope we did. All right, let's run this one more time and see how this looks. Let's refresh. All right, let's test it one more time. So if I can remember correctly, admin and password, and sign in, and yep, it's all right, Chrome. All right, so it's successfully redirected us, signed us in, and redirected us to the home page. Now this should be the admin, not the home. But right now we can go to our admin, and we shouldn't be redirected back to the login because we are logged in. So I can go to the admin route, and we are allowed to access the admin route. And if I check my cookies, I should see that. Give me a second. Applications and cookies. Yeah. You see that I should have an auth session right here. All right. So that'll be all for this part. On the next part, we would be facing the customers facing parts, and we'll be creating the customers facing pages so that users can come into the application and actually purchase session, and would also integrate Stripe payment into the application. I'll see you there. Bye.